All right, we are opening up a highly controversial historical investigation today. Forensic geologist Scott Wolter uses physical sciences to test a pretty staggering premise. The big question: did ancient globe-trotting cultures actually cross the oceans thousands of years before Columbus? In this explainer, we're going to impartially analyze the physical evidence and the geology presented in the source material to see exactly why these hidden histories are so compelling. Walter's core argument suggests that the standard historical timeline we all grew up memorizing in grade school might actually be missing massive chapters of human migration. He argues there's a hidden history out there. So, to test this theory, we're going to examine some incredibly unique artifacts found across the Americas that challenge everything we thought we knew. Here is the roadmap for this explainer. 1. The Polynesian Pacific Superhighway. 2. Ancient Hebrews in America. 3. Egyptian treasures and caves. And 4. Oceans as ancient superhighways. Let's jump right into Case File 1, the Polynesian Pacific Superhighway, Bones, Stones, and Canoes. When you look at the Pacific Ocean around 1000 AD, the physical evidence for contact is, well, it's just incredibly diverse. Take this greenish-gold obsidian spear point that was found inside a Hawaiian crater. Forensic testing actually matched it to a very specific quarry in Pachuca, Mexico. I mean, how does Mexican volcanic glass end up in pre-Columbian Hawaii? The working theory points to intrepid Polynesian voyagers bringing it back as a souvenir. We also see these shared biological markers, things like pre-Columbian chicken bones in South America that perfectly match Polynesian varieties. And then there's identical stone plank canoe engineering shared directly between Polynesians and California coastal tribes. But the connection wasn't just physical, it was auditory too. Language acts as this sort of invisible artifact. In parts of Ecuador and Peru, the word for sweet potato is kumar, which is totally identical to the Polynesian word. In Southern California, the Chumash tribe's word for a sewn plank canoe is tamal, closely echoing the Polynesian tuma arapa. And the Gabrielino tribe's word to sew is tia, directly mirroring the Polynesian tia. When you hear these spoken out loud, they mirror each other so closely it heavily suggests a direct face-to-face transfer of language and technology. This actually takes us back 9,000 years to the highly controversial Kennewick man skeleton found in Washington state. Now, local tribes strongly claim him as an ancient ancestor. However, a forensic analysis explored in our sources used 3D printing and a statistical breakdown of 63 different cranial measurements to reconstruct his skull, and it revealed a face structure that mathematically aligns closest with Polynesians out of all global populations. It's a staggering piece of physical data, and it forces us to deeply rethink the earliest demographics of the Americas. Moving on to Case File 2, Ancient Hebrews in America, Stones, Mounds, and Inscriptions. For this one, we're shifting gears and moving deep into the American heartland to the Bat Creek Stone. This was found in a Tennessee Cherokee burial mound back in 1889. Now, for years, critics called it a 19th century hoax planted by some ambitious archaeologist. So forensic geology was brought in to test it. Under a 3D digital microscope, fresh scratches from 1971 showed rough edges and leftover microscopic debris. But the original Paleo-Hebrew carved grooves, they were deeply polished with perfectly smooth, weathered edges. That specific geological weathering profile basically rules out a modern hoax. Okay, so if it is authentically ancient, what does it actually say? Well, Semitic scholars translated the Paleo-Hebrew text to mean "for the Judeans." And the lettering style itself is a massive clue. It closely matches Jewish war coins from around 65 to 70 AD. This completely shifts the prevailing theory away from the famous lost tribes of Israel, who vanished way back in 722 BC, to a much later timeline of 1st or 2nd century AD Jewish refugees fleeing Roman persecution. And the thing is, the Bat Creek Stone is just one piece of this incredibly complex puzzle, spread across multiple eras. You have 3,500-year-old old Negascript, allegedly carved into dark, heavily weathered New Mexico rocks. Then that 722 BC era of the lost tribes. Next is our 1st or 2nd century AD Bat Creek Stone. And finally, jumping all the way to 1823, you have the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers documenting massive 100-acre menorah-shaped earthworks built by the ancient Hopewell culture in Ohio. The geographical and chronological spread of these artifacts is just vast. Next up, Case File 3, Egyptian Treasures in Caves, Grand Canyons and Missing Gold. Now we are getting into the most grandiose claims of the source material: underground Egyptian tombs. Back in 1909, a Phoenix Gazette article claimed that a Smithsonian-backed explorer found a massive, virtually inaccessible cave halfway down the Grand Canyon, absolutely filled with Egyptian mummies and statuary. Interestingly enough, local Zuni tribal oral traditions also speak of ancient rooms and pyramids inside the canyon. Add in modern explorers claiming they've literally been chased away from specific coordinates by unmarked government stealth helicopters, and the Smithsonian issuing strict official denials, well, you've got yourself a first-class historical mystery. But the Grand Canyon isn't the only alleged Egyptian vault. Over in southern Illinois, the legend of Burroughs Cave revolves around Alexander Helios, the missing eldest son of Cleopatra and Mark Antony, who vanished without a trace around 25 BC. The theory here is absolutely astonishing. It suggests that Helios fled Roman persecution with 50,000 followers and the Egyptian royal treasury, sailing all the way up the Mississippi River to Illinois. While the alleged gold was reportedly melted down in the 1980s, strange stone carvings and lead replicas were supposedly left behind. So could an ancient underground complex even exist in this specific part of rural Illinois? To figure this out, our forensic geologist used a secretive pinpoint map to locate the alleged ravines and tested the natural sandstone walls right there on site. He applied a few drops of dilute hydrochloric acid. Now, if it bubbled, that would mean strong calcite cement was holding the rock together. But it didn't fizz at all. The liquid just soaked right in. The sandstone was incredibly soft and weakly cemented, meaning from a purely geological standpoint, carving massive structural tombs into this exact bedrock, it is absolutely physically possible. Finally, oceans as ancient superhighways, synthesizing the evidence. So putting all these case files together, a really compelling picture emerges from the source material, one that directly challenges how we view early human history. From that green gold obsidian to shared canoe vocabulary, the physical and linguistic artifacts strongly point toward multi-continental contact. We've seen how forensic geology can authenticate items that have long been dismissed as hoaxes. And remarkably, Native American oral traditions consistently parallel these archaeological anomalies. The evidence presented suggests that the world's oceans were not isolating walls at all. They were bustling superhighways connecting civilizations across the globe. We have really just scratched the surface in this explainer today, but if these ancient oceans truly were superhighways of trade, language, and culture long before Columbus, what other untold histories are still quietly buried beneath our feet?